My name is Kaylee, and my presentation topic analyzes what emergency management really is and if it can be categorized as a theory. The New Oxford American Dictionary defines theory as a supposition or system of ideas intended to explain something, especially based on general principles that are independent of the thing to be explained. In class, we have learned that emergency management is an organized analysis, planning, decision-making, and assignment of available resources in order to reduce vulnerabilities to hazards and cope with disasters. Emergency management isn't a theory itself, but rather within itself and its components. The definition merely states the system's function and references its goals to both reduce vulnerabilities to hazards and to cope with disasters. Thus, emergency management must rely on a framework or underlying rules and principles for an effective and successful reaction to occur. In other words, for an emergency situation to be properly managed and solved. Emergency management relies on 8 principles, which include comprehensiveness, progression, the drive for risk, integration, collaboration, coordination, flexibility, and a professional approach. But these remain an intangible backdrop and don't necessarily achieve any goals on their own. As we peel back the layers of emergency management, the first is the plan or strategy under which the system operates in order to maximize its potential. FEMA outlines emergency management with 4 primary phases of reply, which are mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Mitigation activities occur before the emergency or disaster and eliminate the probability of hazard occurrence, which include actions to postpone, dissipate, or lessen the effects of disasters, essentially to reduce the loss of life and property. Preparedness activities are aimed at minimizing disaster damage and enhancing disaster response operations, preparing individuals and organizations to confront the aspects of a disaster situation. Response activities provide emergency assistance to survivors and rescue the probability of additional injuries or damage. These activities typically require huge attention to haste and detail in order to adequately match the capacity of the damage. And finally, recovery activities attempt to return systems to normal levels and attempt to separate short and long-term goals. Emergency management response teams must get vital systems like communication, transportation, water, and electricity back up in approximately 2 weeks. Long-term, teams are to stabilize all systems for the foreseeable future, or at least until the next major disaster strikes. Due to the nature of stabilizing an enormous capacity of systems, it can take years to return systems back to 100%. The emergency management system relies upon these 4 phases in order to perform work and describe how it performs work, but it doesn't delineate principles that are independent of what is to be explained, essential to fit the definition of a theory. Rather, it just defines the 4 phases. Therefore, each phase allows the 8 principles in emergency management to create the greater idea and picture of emergency management as a whole. Because the principles each hit at least one phase area, a set of underlying principles is embedded into the idea and foundation of emergency management. So, through the actions of mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery, emergency management can be categorized as a theory.